Open up your eyes and see all the fun and mystery. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny. From the mountains to the shore, so many things to explore. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny.
Well, hello, everyone. Hope that you are doing well. Whoa, boy, here we go. Well, first, I want to welcome everybody to Maximum Impact with Jay Cameron. Thank you for tuning in for a few moments. Make sure that you click that subscribe button because guess what? We are less than 30 subscribers away from 20,000 subscribers. I never set out to be a YouTuber. But, just through the travels and people following the journey and a lot of different things we talk about because we're not, monolithic in our presentation. A lot of people have chimed in and connected with our content. We thank you for being a part of the Maximum Impact family. We have so many things coming up, and we're glad to be a part of this international community. That's right. We're an international community. I'm back in the Washington metropolitan area for a little while. I'll be headed back to Ghana soon, and we have a tour coming up, and then I'll be back in Atlanta, and then I'll be back in Ghana, and then Tanzania. We have a documentary coming up. We're getting ready to film, so that's on the way. So, but anyway, what I'm going to do, I'm going to be on here live until we cross 20,000. That's right. We got less than 30 to go. And I'm going to be on here live. And I got a nice topic here. So here's the deal. A lot of people have watched, but they haven't subscribed. And so we want to be able to cross on over today. So we have a little less than 2 hours before midnight kicks in. And so I'm going to be monitoring where we are. Yes, we are 29 away from the mark. So that's the deal. So hit that subscribe button, share, all that good stuff, and we're going to get this out. Now, I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna talk about right now. It's a follow-up to something that I shared not too long ago, and it was this whole part about African Americans are not African, and that set it off. And I knew it would. I knew it was going to set it off, especially for a particular segment of the population and viewing audience. And it sparked a global conversation. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about, for me, and I can only talk about me because I don't know however somebody wants to identify, especially during these times. People, you can identify as being a turtle with polka dots and a green tail and 3 feet. Whatever somebody wants to identify as, it's their business. That's my point. But the problem comes in when I have people trying to tell me who I am. And when they say we aren't this, we aren't that. You don't know me to even say who we are. And and I said this in the previous talk, the wonderful part about the African diaspora is that we're so diverse, even genetically. We're diverse from the standpoint of, I even think about it when I look at my genetic makeup. My genetic makeup has so many different things going on with it. For me to say it could be a whole lot of different we's in the whole process. But I want to walk this down a little bit because, and I'm not trying to do this to convince somebody who already has their mind made up that they're not something. even if they are. I'm thinking about the people who are on the fence and they might hear this thing and they might not have another piece of information or another line of thought to even challenge it with. So what I'm coming with now is another line of thought to be able to challenge some of this stuff that's coming out. And I can explain it from several different perspectives, not just one perspective. And so I'll walk this down to you, so that you can at least be able to put this in the conversation. I'm not trying to convince you what your identity is. If you whatever you want to be, but one of the things I do know is that there's certain segments of the world population that don't have this conversation because they have not been affected by colonization and imperialism the way that melanated people have been affected. And they're not having the conversation about where they come from and all that. Now, the beautiful thing is when I was down in Brazil, they didn't have this conversation either because they knew. You saw Yoruba everywhere. They have an Angolan society there. When I was in Nigeria, I saw the Afro-Brazilian community. When I was in Ghana, I saw that. So it wasn't a matter of these people wondering. But when it comes to the so-called Black, African-American, indigenous, however somebody wants to identify within that realm, there's so many aspects to it. I know that when I went to go get my dual citizenship in Sierra Leone, because that's one thing that people go, well, what's your tribe? Tell me where do you know your tribe? I was like, well, Timene, Mafa, and I can also, talk about some of the European side. I saw some of the graves of my European ancestors and all of that. But they're coming from the standpoint of saying, do you know we know we're Cherokee or we're this, that, and the other. And I'm saying, okay, cool, if that's what you are, but don't tell me who I am. Because I put the work in, did the research, did the genealogy, walked the whole thing down. Then it was, that DNA is false. That DNA is fraudulent. That DNA, I'm like, well, I might be able to go, let me say this before I even get to that part. I'm not on a side either. I just want the truth. Now, before everybody tells me what the truth is, I done heard from everybody, from the Jehovah's Witnesses to everybody telling me they know the truth throughout my life. There's everybody has the truth. We're 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 the truth. And so I've heard that, throughout life, where people will, try to tell you their version of whatever they believe the truth to be, and then they'll try to project that upon you. And if somebody's weak-minded or they haven't done any extensive research, then they go along with whatever feels right in that moment. And a lot of times people get caught up because of the emotion of it all. And that's real. A lot of people do get caught in that. And I was in that, and that's probably what gives me the courage to, speak out and say, okay, cool. If I am indigenous or foundational Black American or whatever, then that's what I want to be. I'm cool with that. I'm not somebody who's anti being foundational Black American or whatever the term is that you're going to call it, whatever the new identifier is this week. If I'm African American, then I'm cool with being that, or if I'm a combination of it. And I think that's what ends up happening. That's what I don't hear in the conversations. Either you're this or you're that, and you have to pick a side, which is really unfortunate, because when you understand the beauty of both sides, then you're like, you know what, I don't have to pick a side because I descend from both, so I can embrace both sides. But for some people, their minds, and that's their thing. That's fine. But for me, if I want to embrace both sides, I can, because I'm born here, but I descend from here. And so in my research, for me, it's what I discovered for me. And so, so looking at that, I want to say this: there's big money in peddling identity, big money in it, and it goes both ways. So there would be people who would say, well, you can't trust those DNA tests because they had a interview on 60 Minutes and the people said they were lying. Well, okay. Well, I don't know why would I trust the people who are saying that they're lying? Why would I trust the liars to tell me the truth at this point in time? Then the other part of it is if the tests are so fraudulent, then how is it that it's connecting all of these people that they know through their genealogy and they know through their DNA, how are they able to be connected? And they know that they're related and they're connected. Now, somebody has an excuse. There's always an excuse. And I'm not here to defend the DNA companies. I'm just saying that if someone finds a cousin and that's their cousin, then that's a fact. So no matter how somebody tries to gaslight it and say that it's not a fact, it is a fact that they were connected. One of these companies somehow connected them and linked them together, and they begin to go through their genealogy, and the story is accurate. I had cousins who I didn't even know come to me. And I think they're probably in their late 20s. Showed up as second cousin. I saw the picture. When she said, hey, you're showing up close on my DNA. I'm looking for my father. I said, cool. I said, so I looked at the picture. I said, cool. I said, well, I have an idea of whose child this is. She said, well, my father's initials are what the initials are. I knew who her father was because of the genealogy and the history of my cousin who had all of these children all over the place, and now they're linking to me by way of Ancestry and 23andMe or whatever. Again, I'm not saying that I'm not defending these companies. I'm just telling you what the facts are. Relatives, Ancestry and 23andMe don't know anything about her history and how it links to me. All they're doing is putting these samples in, and these genetic markers are showing up. And that's accurate. No matter what someone says, that is accurate. That particular person, I said, well, I know one of your siblings. I told the sibling, I said, well, look, you might want to go ahead and take one of the tests just to see. So she took the test, and they showed up as half-sisters. Well, the truth of the matter is they're half-sisters. So when people come with this, I'm like, yeah, I hear what you're saying about the 60 Minutes interview. But if you really are serious about this, prove them wrong. Because what I'm looking to do now is to prove them wrong. Let me take the test and prove these people wrong. So instead of saying that it's fake, prove that they're fake. Take the test, and go find out if it's linking up the way that it's supposed to. Find out where this thing connects. But of course, they're not going to do that, because what I've discovered in this journey is that when people don't want the truth, they will avoid doing things that can disprove their argument, and they will try to discredit it. It's a psychological play that happens just in life. It's just this. It's what people do. I mean, it's a psychological kind of warfare tactic to say, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to Africa. I'm not taking that test, because that stuff is fraudulent. Just believe what I say. Just trust what I say, because the National Archives said, and the Library of Congress said, and all of these things said. But I'm saying, wait a minute. You're now quoting the very things from the very people that you say we shouldn't trust. So now you're citing their supposed historical facts as a basis for your claim, but yet somehow the people with the DNA, they're flawed. See, this is what I'm saying for people who are on the fence. People who are gone, they're still in their mind trying to, all they can do, we're not. That's all they come back with. But those people who are like, that is true, because the facts that you're supposedly stating are all coming from the very place that you say we shouldn't trust. The very place that created the curriculum that distorted, or supposedly distorted, the history you say is missing. So I took it a step further. And this is what I told him. I said, okay, there's big money in identity peddling, whether it be religious, ethnic, financial, whatever. There's big money in peddling identity. How you identify as a person, somebody can make a lot of money off of that based upon how you see yourself. What I was telling people, I said, well, listen, I hear what you're saying, and I want to listen to what you're saying because I want the truth. But you're giving me an incomplete puzzle. You're only telling me this from this side of the world. You're not doing a thorough analysis and going and researching and debunking what your claims are from the other side of the world. And you're just posing questions, and you're really exploiting people's, you're doing a double exploitation. And you're now taking people's already confused identity situation and twisting it. And it really only works on a certain segment of the certain world, global African diaspora population that happens to be in America. And so when these different theories come out and they target it, and this is why I believe that somebody is funding this stuff from some other places, because it creates confusion. And so when it creates confusion, that creates disunity. And when you have identity confusion, it creates a level of paralysis. And it causes people to sit still. And they say, well, okay, or they embrace something that it's like a type of Stockholm syndrome, if you will. So I just said, just complete the puzzle for me. I'll be more than willing to listen to you, but let's complete the puzzle. So what I did, I took it a step further. I said, I know they say the DNA tests are bogus in America, and if this is what these people who peddle these theories say, that it's bogus, you can't trust it, it's not right, it changes, this, that, and the other. I said, well, let me go take some of these tests over to Africa. Let me go on over here and take me some ancestry tests to Africa and see what comes back. So I took me some ancestry DNA tests over to Africa, and I asked some people in Ghana, Ethiopia, and Sierra Leone to take the test. So now, you just don't get much more authentic than this at this point. Because if I take it over to Africa and it somehow says they're from America, if you will, now I know it's fraudulent. Now they know it's fraudulent. But if I somehow take it to Africa and it says that the people are from where they are from, now there's more credibility here, because I'm willing to go the extra mile and not just take what somebody's dropping on YouTube and not what just somebody saying out of their emotions because they just don't want to be something, because they're upset about something they really don't understand the context of the story to. So the first one was with Fatima in Sierra Leone. And so she did. I got a video. You can type it in and look at the video and see what came up. So what happened in her case is that her DNA was consistent with the region that she knew. So she discovered that her DNA, that it broadened out a little bit, went up into Mali, but it came down and the migration pattern went into Sierra Leone. That was something that was consistent with her. So the next person, Paul, he did, he's in Ghana. He did the DNA. And what was so fascinating was that when his results came back, it linked with someone else on Ancestry. And the person sent a message in and said, this link right here has come in, and I suspect that this person comes from the Winneba region in Ghana. Now, that person didn't know that sample was going to be submitted. But Paul comes from the Winneba region in Ghana. So now I'm sitting there looking, I'm saying, okay, I'd be a fool to let these people gaslight me. And I'm saying, this man knows where he was born. I know where this man comes from, just based on where I met him and all of that. I said, now, isn't this something? Look at this. Elikim did his DNA. And when Elikim, he's a tailor in Ghana. And so when his results came back, it was consistent with the region that he knew. With him being of Ewe, he's Ewe in Ghana, but Togo and Benin are right there next to it. So what it said is basically he was from that region. These borders are artificial borders. So just to kind of put that in perspective, you can't say, well, I'm in Nigeria. The borders were created in 1885. So DNA isn't concerned about the borders. So that was consistent. And he knew that he had some German ancestry in him as well. So that confirmed what he already knew. Someone else took the Regina. She took the the Ghana. She's from Ghana as well. You know, I was in Ghana, so got a lot of Ghana folks. When I come back around, I just know I always got a test with me. I always do. So for her, it showed up, and it was consistent with the region that she knew. And so sometimes it goes on to Togo and Benin, but that's all kind of right there in that same West Africa area. No surprises. No, like, oh, wow, what happened here? Oh, man. So I'm not seeing these people get on planes and go over in them dungeons and do any of this. What they're doing is they have a specific audience that they're targeting, and they know that they've probably done a psychoanalysis of the mindset of the people that will go for this, because this has been a play that has been happening for hundreds of years. And so if you cause people to dislike or convince people that a place is bad or they don't have any connection to it, you can continue to exploit it. So if you keep a certain percentage of a population of so-called African Americans who have a certain spending power, who have a certain cultural connection to these areas, if you keep them away from it, what begins to happen is that now you can continue to do what you've been doing for the past 400 or 500 years. So I tell people, so when I was going over to Sierra Leone, people were like, man, get back over here to this tribe. We got our own tribe, and we don't need to be no parts of that. And I said, well, this is my tribe too, but I also got tribes over there as well. So what's wrong with having both? Why I have to pick one? Why do I have to limit myself? When I see the white boys out here, they travel the world. The Asians travel the world. Indians travel the world. They have no borders. Why do I have to be the one with the border in my mind? Why can't I travel the world too? Why can't I embrace all the cultures? You find the Europeans in the African villages doing their thing, speaking the language. But we sitting up somewhere, cooped up somewhere, don't want to go nowhere because somebody's toyed with our minds. And I said, I don't want to be that person. Especially when you get out here and you see how everybody else is living, and then you just got this little pack of people over here mad and upset and trying to, I don't even know all the details of it, but just mad and upset about people in Africa. They sold me into slavery. You ain't never been in slavery, Negro. You ain't never been in slavery. What are you talking about? The only slavery you got is what you got in America, in the mind. But the people who are living today never put you in any slavery. But I've talked to so many people who are upset with people today, innocent people that have done nothing, don't even know what happened, but they're upset and they're walking around with this chip on their shoulder in that prison in their own mind. Now, that's their prerogative, that's their business, that's their life. But don't try to project that on me when I try to show people and expose people to something completely different and a completely different mindset that's very liberating. When you live life without certain borders, it's very liberating because you see other people living their lives without those borders in their mind. And so whether it's cultural borders, ethnic borders, whatever the case may be. Now, somebody might say, well, that's fine to travel the world, but just acknowledge who you are. If I'm indigenous, if I'm foundational, I'm cool with that. But my research has not shown that I'm but maybe 1.5 to 2% indigenous and all of that. Now, I said this in the previous talk, just to kind of put this into perspective. I firmly believe, and please hear this because somehow people skip over this, and I think this is a part of what I'm about to talk about next. I firmly believe that there were people from the continent of Africa who explored the Americas. I do not give that credit to the Europeans to say they were the only ones who were explorers. When you see that there were African artifacts in South America, and even in what we know as America today, that predated any transatlantic slave trade, I do not doubt that. I am not questioning that. I'm not saying that every person who is of melanated skin came over in the transatlantic slave trade in the Americas. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that when people walk around and say we, and they try to impose that, we, and just like disown, like it's almost like, it's like these people have been convinced to disown a piece of like their, I don't want to say inheritance, but another piece of their wealth. It's like, we're going to throw that away because that's worthless without really understanding the wealth of it all. Now, if you did your research and your research said something else and you went extensive, some people are not going to do the DNA just because they're not. Hey, that's your thing. Do you? And that's what I tell people all the time, do you. But what I have observed, however, is that When you don't know any better, you go with whatever. And for me, I don't take anyone seriously who only presents a one-sided argument. And if someone's really serious about presenting that position, and this is what makes it so disingenuous when you hear it. If you're really serious about presenting it, then you go over and you do all of the due diligence on the ground, and you do the interviews, and you really spend the time to break this stuff down and not just talk about it really from a disgruntled Black American perspective. You go and you say, okay, if the slave trade didn't happen, let me go over to West Africa and prove that the slave trade never happened. No, but instead what we do, well, we have documents and records from the same people we're not supposed to trust. We have documents and records from the same people we're not supposed to trust. Where are the slave ships? The same place the ships are that brought all the Europeans over to the Americas. Where are those ships? Sometimes these are very elementary questions, but when people have it in their mind and they want to believe something, no matter what you say, it's not going to convince them. But when people ask the question, where are the slave ships? Same place the colonizer ships are. Wherever they are, that's where the slave ships are. Somehow they got their behinds over there to the tune of 200 million people. So you got 43 million so-called African Americans. Hey, somehow somebody had to get over there. But again, I don't take people seriously who only present a one-sided argument. Then people try to shift the argument and make it broad. And like I said, I make it very specific to me because that's what they want to come with. We not from? Well, I am proudly African. My African genetics, proud of them, no shame in the game. I'm proud of the indigenous part, the indigenous Americans. I'm not dissing that at all. But what I do know is that I don't need DNA when I go to West and South Africa. I don't need DNA when I'm in Nigeria or wherever. And then somebody wanted to go into, well, before Nigeria and there were migrations all over. I get that. But I'm dealing with specifically right now within the past 500 years. We don't know where people were 2 million years ago. It could have been completely reversed. It could have been something that we don't even know about. There's a lot we just don't know. But I'm dealing with the specifics of right now and over the past 500 years and dealing with that particular topic. So when so I look at that and I'm standing in Nigeria, and I keep mentioning Nigeria, and it's happened in Tanzania too, but in particular Nigeria because it seemed like it was just very familiar in that particular space. So the people, they thought that I was Nigerian. If I go to the reservation, they're not gonna think I'm part of the reservation. Let me go on over to Cherokee Reservation and roll up on that, just like every day. They're gonna look at me like, okay, what's this dude doing here? Now, I'm not saying I know that they have reservations that have melanated people. I get that. But I'm just saying the way that I fit into Nigeria and West Africa and parts of East Africa and South Africa, I could if I never opened my mouth, they would have thought that I was one of them. They would have thought I was one of them. But I guarantee you, if I go to some of these reservations, I'm not rolling up on the reservation and I'm one of them. Especially when you look at the history of the indigenous towards the African or the Negro, whatever, have classification. Look at the story of Sarah Rector. Since we want to go start pulling out facts and everything, look at the story of Sarah Rector. Little girl millionaire back in the early 1900s. Look at the history of the indigenous towards the African. And you can even look at the history of the freed slave towards other that they enslaved. I mean, you could kind of keep digging layers and layers and layers into this whole thing, this whole kind of sidebar, but go look into that. And so when you start looking at certain things, you have to wonder whether or not you want to be that either. When you start looking at some of the treatment that was being administered towards those who were indeed enslaved. So that's just something to think about. This next another question that came up is why have why has a movement like this caught steam? And somebody posted that they didn't like when I used the term cult and cult personalities. And the reason why I use cult and cult personalities is because there are certain personalities that are charismatic and persuasive enough to convince people of whatever it is they want to convince. And I oftentimes reference Jim Jones. Jim Jones was a personality in the 1970s who targeted a lot of black people in America, in particular out in San Francisco in that area. And he was basically under the guise of religion, but he had his whole other little network of things going on. Then he went down to South America and Guyana, convinced the people to move down there because of this thing with the government. And they moved down, and he convinced these people, some by force, some were killed, to drink the Kool-Aid. That's where the term "don't drink the Kool-Aid" comes from, because it was cyanide-laced Kool-Aid in 1977, and all of these people were believed to commit mass suicide in the jungles of South America, in Guyana. Now, what captivated those people to get caught up into something like that? And it's not just that you had the Hale-Bopp comet thing, people committing suicide, trying to catch a comet flying by. So there are a lot of personalities who are very charismatic, who have large platforms, but psychologically they're not well. And what they do is they cater towards a particular psychological makeup. And when that happens, people latch onto it, whether they're disgruntled, disenfranchised, suspicious, and all of that. And I'll tell you like this, we should be suspicious of certain things, especially when our education system has been so jacked up. The information that we've received has been so jacked up. But that's why we should now go further and do even more due diligence and not just do a little bit along the way. We should go the extra mile and say, nah, I hear what you're saying. I just don't, because I don't want to find myself with the pendulum swinging all the way back to the other side. Let me do a little bit more due diligence and get into this thing, and so I don't get myself caught up into something. So a lot of people find themselves following people based on a common issue, whatever that issue might be. And then these cult personalities typically have a pattern of denial, or they believe they know the absolute truth. And what I've discovered in my travels is that you talk to people, I know the truth, I know the truth, I know the truth, this is the truth, this is the truth, that's the truth. And you're like, well, wait a minute. Everybody's telling me they know the truth, but what I've discovered is that there are pieces of truth in everything, pieces. But when someone tries to persuade you to the point of like absolute, that's when you're like, that's red flag. Because no one knows everything. They only know a little piece. And like in the debates and everything that I'll engage with from time to time, like one guy tried to tell me something about Morocco, and Morocco has been, the French never colonized Morocco. Morocco colonized Spain and Portugal. I said, well, first of all, Morocco wasn't a country until like recently. And it stunned him. I said, go to 1885. I said, well, what's up with the French Protectorate? I believe that's what it's called, Protectorate or something like that. In 1912, what? Come on now, let's talk about this a little bit more. And so what he meant to say was that the kingdoms in the area known as Morocco had been doing all these different things, and I don't know if it's called colonizing, but they've been dominating for a while and doing different things. But when he said the country of Morocco, like the country didn't exist. The country. So a lot of times people don't listen to what's being said, and they're ready to jump onto something. But when I talk about these cult personalities, though, then the next thing is with cult personalities, you can't tell them anything, and they aren't willing to go beyond the indoctrination, and they won't go to travel beyond a certain point. I'll never forget the time the Jehovah's Witnesses came to my house. And I'm saying to myself, they come into the door, and I'm saying, okay, the Jehovah's Witnesses are here. And they're very nice, very kind people. But I said to myself, they were like, well, look, do you know the Lord Jesus? And, and now their Bible is different than other Bibles. And so now they're saying that they're the truth. I'm saying, okay. So they want to, give me the little brochure with the little white Jesus on it. Red flag number one. Little brown people coming with a little brochure with a little white Jesus in it. Red flag. I said to them, very kindly, I said, well, I would like to share something with you. Can I give it to you? Oh, no, we can't receive anything from you. Oh, no, then I can't receive anything from you. That's a red flag. You're going to come bring me the truth, but I can't bring you the truth. We have a problem. Houston, Dallas, San Francisco, Miami, Accra, Nairobi, Moscow, Beijing, Shanghai, we have a problem because that is a sign. If you aren't willing to listen to me, then I'm not going to listen to you. But a cult personality, they'll try to, they try to scare you on that level. And I'm saying when it comes to this new age identity cult personality, now, man, you ignorant. You don't know what you're talking about. You need to go do some more research. You need to go do this, that, and the other. And I say, well, you need to get your butt on the plane and go see. Well, why are you afraid to take the test? What you scared of? I got relatives like that could prove, the relatives are like, that's not my relative. No, my daddy didn't have all them kids. Well, go take the test. Go find out. No, I'm not doing that. Okay, because you don't want the truth. Them tests ain't right. Them tests. Well, all right, well, disprove it then. I'm not doing that. I don't want the government with my DNA. Well, when you peed and when you gave blood, the government got your DNA. When you did the pee test, when you went to the doctor, and to find out when you did your annual physical or the pap smear or whatever, they got your DNA. So, okay. Well, so what I'm discovering is that when I hear that, it's like, okay. Now again, I approach this when people come to me and try to tell me who I am. Because you got the wrong one. I mean, somebody else is going to fall for it. I know. I'm watching the movement happen. It's like we're like some of the most influential people in the world, but we're some of the most gullible people also. And some of the most lack of due diligence people as well. They say, well, I did my due diligence and I read these books and everything. I got the Before Columbus. I got all the books. I got all the books and I'm good with that. Again, that's what I said. I don't have a problem with people having been here before. No problem with that. That's not my position. When I look in, I'll give you another couple good examples. And don't forget to subscribe. Let me see where we are in the process. Let me see how far away we are. And I got a good story. I got another DNA story for you that'll set it off. All right. We are 24 away from 20,000. That's right, 20,000 subscribers. So let's go ahead. If you have not subscribed, go ahead and hit that button. Let's get to 20,000 before midnight tonight. Let's close the gap. All that good stuff. All right, so here we go. So here's another example of the DNA. Oh, boy. Ancestry DNA as the database. I did them all. Ancestry, 23andMe, MyHeritage, and African Ancestry. So Ancestry, and this is not a commercial for Ancestry, believe me, it's not. I did the genealogy ahead of time. It confirmed what I discovered. There it is. So a third cousin reaches out to me and says, hey, my grandmother just took this test and you're showing up like first, second cousin for her. I said, really? I said, well, where's your grandmother? Well, my grandmother's in the Virginia Beach area. She's 85 years old. And we're just trying to figure out why you're showing up so close to her in relation. I was like, well, tell me her name. So they told me her name. I said, interesting. I said, well, who's her father's name? What is her father's name? And they told me the father's name. I said, well, that's my family name on that side. let me start walking this down a little bit. So we went to the genealogy. So we go to the family tree and we start putting pieces together. So we realize that her father and my grandmother were siblings. I said, okay, cool. So before my aunt took the DNA test, I went to meet with her and her grandchildren or children and all of that. And we were like, wow. So I went back to my aunt. Now this is what I'm saying. If it's fraudulent, then they're good. And just if they're this good, then they earned everything. They earned to be that. They earned the right to be that fraudulent. But some jacklegs that's out here just talking whatever they're saying, they're not putting in the work to do this side of it. So I go to my aunt and I say, hey, I met your first cousin. She said, really? She said, yeah. I said, yeah. And it's her name. And she never met her before. She didn't know anything about her. So then she pulls out a picture. And she said, I said, well, she says that her father is your mother's sister. And she's like, well, here's my mother and the siblings. And so she, without me telling her, because I knew the name, I said, well, who's that right there? That's Uncle so-and-so, that's Uncle so-and-so, and that's Uncle AJ right there. I said, wow. Uncle AJ was my cousin's father, the 85-year-old's father. Came by way of the third cousin who linked to me, who asked questions that linked to my older cousin, who in turn is my paternal aunt's, my father's sister's first cousin. They didn't know anything about each other. Now, after my aunt took the test, after she took the DNA test, it shows them as being first cousins. Again, I'm not advocating for these companies. I'm just saying that when people say that they aren't real, I'm just giving you example after example. Got people in Africa doing it, linking to people in America through the DNA, showing exactly where these people come from. So if these people got a scam that good, where they have to be detecting something in the DNA to be able to tell where these people are coming from. So someone then says, well, I talk to the elders and watch Chief so-and-so's talk on such and such, and Minister so-and-so's talk, and talk to this, listen to what they had to say. And I say this like the elders have changed the stories too. I can tell you some wild stories that I've heard in my travels. And I say, yeah, this thing goes both ways. I need to look with my own eyes. When I go to Salvador, Brazil, and I see Yoruba culture in Salvador, interesting. When I see where the Portuguese seem like they have a foot everywhere in Africa, where they have built a castle or a dungeon or something, when from the north to the west, to the south, to the east, I'm just looking at all of these patterns. I'm looking at global patterns and saying there's no way. First of all, America, the landmass, and this is what really makes it off, because it doesn't have the natural resources to sustain what we know today without the continent of Africa. So it sustained itself during that time. It's a beautiful landscape. I mean, people eat blubber, in frozen areas. And, there were people who lived in those areas and they have a different particular diet. But when people understand how much America imports from Africa, it doesn't even make sense when you start looking at it just from a business perspective to dismiss what occurred, whether somebody wants to believe it or not. To dismiss it, to say, well, okay, so these people have the ability to do all these different things. The rice farmers coming from West Africa, and now they're going to the seacoast islands and on the east coast of America. They have the ability to do all these different things. Then I slap into my colonial mind. Say, now who would I get to do this? If I'm bringing all these resources, when you look at it from a colonizing standpoint, it's easier to get to Africa than it is to anywhere in the Americas. So I'm just going to come down from Spain and cross the water and come right down into northern Africa. I already got slave trade with the Barbary slave trade happening, so it's easy. It's easy for me to get from England and France and Belgium and all of that to get down into Africa. And so now, as I'm now exploring the world and expanding my territory, you see Portugal goes over into Brazil and gets that large landmass. You see Spain going over into all parts of the islands of Mexico and into South America and into the America and then what we know as America. You see France coming over. France even got a little hand in South America. So when you start looking at this, you begin to say to yourself, this story is much bigger than what's being presented. You see Belgium, you see Germany, you see, Italy, all throughout Africa. You see the Dutch. And you say to yourself, this was a big money play. And people are saying, well, pick one or the other. And I'm saying, well, what if I'm able to pick both? And that's the beauty on the flip side of it. What if I'm able to do both? I don't know. Well, I'm looking here now. Some of my other notes. If I'm running game, the last thing I want to do is for people to figure out that they can have or they descend from both. Because there's something empowering about saying, you know what? I was born in America and I have a right to, if you're going to start distributing reparations, then I have a right to that. But you know what? I also have a right to what the other stuff too. Now, some people don't like to hear that, but it's like, I don't have a right to it just for me just to become another neo-colonialist. But I have a right to it because now, if we're looking at it in that perspective, and that's one of the reasons why Sierra Leone gives citizenships, I'll give them the credit for that. Because some people say, well, you can't go, and they won't accept you, and they won't embrace you. That's simply not true. Maybe some people don't. But there are a whole lot of other people who do. So you can't worry about the ones who don't. Shoot, that Negroes in America that don't accept. The Negroes in America screw you worse than anybody that I've seen in the continent of Africa. I mean, screw you bad. What are you talking about? Human nature is human nature. People don't even click like that. You got classism in America that's just as bad as tribalism in Africa. You got uppity Negroes in uppity parts of different areas who don't even want to associate with the lower class people. But yeah, we all black. Yeah, we all we. Yeah, we when we're sitting up here and we want something and we want to peddle somebody or peddle somebody for their votes. But when it comes down to the resources, we do the same thing. We'll pimp them the same way. The uppity, the elite class will pimp the people the same way. And we'll talk about we the victims of this, that, and the third, and all this and that. And people are waking up to this stuff. People are saying, nah. They talk about the corrupt African leaders. You got the corrupt leaders right there in these black cities. But who's behind the scenes? That's what I always go back to. Who's pulling the strings? Who controls the money? Well, they do. Do you really believe that? In their system? In the imperial system? You really believe they're going to allow the people that they thought were 3/5 of a human being to come in and have that kind of control on that level in their system that they have stolen, that they have manipulated? Do you think they're just going to let that go? I'm not saying it's a helpless case, but what I'm saying, let's think about this for a second. So they're going to put stuff out here to create confusion, because as long as they can keep people on their back feet fighting for things that as long as they have people on their back feet, then they continue to do what they do and the status quo stays the same. But when people start figuring out, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. See, we get caught up in emotion. We get caught up in, oh man, my feelings are hurt. They're like, man, we here to make this money. So guess what? Your feelings gonna be hurt, and we still gonna do what we want to do. And too bad, what you gonna do about it? And then people waking up saying, well, okay, cool. I'll reposition myself, and I'll do what I need to do in order to learn how you play your game. And I'll come in and play it right beside you, but I play it a little bit differently. And so when we get out of allowing ourselves to be peddled by cult personalities, and what I'm not saying is that everything is inaccurate with those positions. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that to completely dismiss the fact that there are ethnic mixes, that especially when you start looking at history and genealogy, the average person going back 500 years has the potential of having 5,000 people in their genetic line. Do you think that's just one group of people? The way people sleep with everybody and everything, people how we do now. People sleep with everybody. So do you just think it's one person or one group? So all of us might have some claim to some of these theories, but to ignore the ethnic mix side of it is purely disingenuous. And that's how you know something is off. When somebody is not willing to acknowledge, you know what, they're not objective. And typically when people comment on it, they're not even objective. They're not even, they don't even stop and say, well, there's some of the indigenous or Native American, whatever you want, American Indian, they were doing some kind of wild things too now. And they were doing some of that ethnic erasure. Let me go analyze what that was looking like for the African, for the Negro, however you want to call it. Let me go with that, what that's looking like. But a typical person won't do that because it requires too much work. It's easy for them to watch a YouTube video. It's easy for them to, just kind of get something in their mind and run with it and not even be objective. What I'm just saying is be objective and say, okay, someone who's analyzing facts, they put it out and say, okay, here it is. And so let's process it. Because like I said, I just want the truth. I want to be able to see, want to be able to, whatever it is. But I also recognize that there are 5,000 people in my genetic history. I know some of them are European. I know some of them are African. And Africa was a name that was given. So even with that, so that's a whole nother story. And some of them were indigenous to the Americas. And there's even some Asian in there too. So somewhere in all of that, and that's just going back 500 years. We're not even talking about long before that. So all I'm saying is to be objective. And when we're objective, then we'll be able to get to something. It's like, and this is a note I have. In many ways, what this is reverse psychotic slavery. So it basically keeps you on the plantation because if you don't dare go out of that to see anything else, and so you stay on that routine. You stay on the routine that was intended. That's why I say and we get spooked so easily. Monkeypox. Ooh, I better stay home, monkeypox. But people shooting up everywhere in America. Monkeypox. Like, okay. But it's like, it's kind of like the game the French played on some of their colonies in convincing the people that they're actually French. The French took it to a gangster level to convince the people that they're French, but they're really African. So France is my home, and here in Africa is just, this is what the total black people, the African people. The French are gangster, y'all. Gangster. And got the people believing it. The French are so gangster that they have these countries paying reparations to them for their own freedom. So while you have people in America trying to get reparations from the American government, the French are out here pimping their supposed former colonies and had them paying reparations, had Haiti paying reparations. And the ones that didn't want to pay reparations suffered because the French were notorious for decimated. But yet we want to go be friends. We want to go to France, take a picture from the Eiffel Tower. See, that's what I'm saying. When all of that stuff, when you start realizing this stuff, you're like, I'm not even dealing with Leopold II in Belgium yet. I'm trying to help us understand the mind game that can be played on us to keep us on the plantation and staying in the routine and fighting for something that, how you going to get it? How you going to get it? What military are you going to use to get it? Now, I'm all for whatever it is, because guess what? Since you say we, I'll end up getting some of it too. But, asking them to give it back? When does the thief willingly give back something without exerting a whole lot of pressure? Now, granted, I'm not discouraging people to go and lobby and all of that, because that's a piece of the puzzle too, so I'm all for that as well. But what I'm saying is that if we aren't clear, and some people say they are, so if you're clear, and maybe your DNA comes back, maybe you did the DNA, and your DNA says something completely different, then run with that. Be who you are. You'll never hear me say you aren't such and such. If you've done your due diligence, and some people say, well, I don't need to do whatever it is, your life. It's your life. But what I do know is that, and it's just my observation, is that for somebody who's not willing to put in as many pieces of puzzle that they can get that are readily in front of them, one has to question whether or not they really want to know the truth. Because some people would be simply surprised. And they said, well, some of the stuff they did the DNA and it came back, it's anything they can find, any little thing they can find to try to discredit. But then they don't come back with anything solid other than quoting the very people that they say we shouldn't trust. Well, they're a for-profit company. Well, these people who coming out peddling this stuff are for-profit as well. Or they're not for-profit or whatever. Or they're using that as a basis of being able to trust them. Anyway, I'll leave it at this. For me, I can embrace multiple cultures. I've gone back and done my history, and I'm very comfortable with what has shown up to this point. That's me. Can't do nothing about that. That's me. Can't gaslight me. And none of that. And if more people stand up and say, hey, it's me. You do you. It's all good. And we got a voice too. And we're not just going to lay down and just say nothing. No, we have a voice too. I'm going to claim both my American history and heritage. I'm not talking about George Washington and them clowns. I'm talking about those ancestors of mine who I watched labor so that I could have more. I'm not going to disrespect them for me. I'm not going to disrespect them by staying on the plantation when they went and worked so that I could leave the plantation, one in my mind, but then physically, so that I could do something and pass it on to the next generation. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to disrespect their hard labor and all of what they did, the lessons that they taught me in this country. But I'm also not going to disrespect my ancestors across the waters who went through the same thing, the same identity erasure, the same abuses. They had the plantations in Ghana, just like they had the plantations in South Carolina. All of that stuff was going on. Colonization, slavery, put them side by side, and you'd see the same practice. I'm not going to disrespect my ancestors who were raped and taken advantage of in Africa. In Africa. That's right, I said Africa. On that land. I'm not going to disrespect them because some of them lived when they came across that water. And so because somebody lived, so and that chain continued, then I'm not going to disrespect them by disowning them. So we talk about, so I don't have to disown either side. I can honor both sides. Because guess what? I believe that somewhere in those 5,000 people, there's someone who thought to say, I'm going to do better. So maybe somebody down the line doesn't have to go through this. And somebody in Africa or wherever, or down in the islands or wherever. So I'm not going to disrespect either side by denying, because I just want to run with something just because. Being in 17 African countries, seeing the people, there's no way I could deny that a major part of me comes from there. But when I come back to the States and I get among my people and I get among the vibe and we do our thing, I know where I come from. I know my people. There's no disowning of them. That's the thing. When I see my people in Africa, when I see other so-called black folks, African men, we kick it up, we vibe, we do what we got to do. What's that? Oh, man, what's going on, bro? What's the deal? Because we recognize some things. But I don't diss my African heritage either, and I never will. And I don't care. And when we have enough people say, I don't care what you have to say. I don't care. When you know and you do your own due diligence for yourself, it is what it is. And so I enjoy every moment I spend on the continent. People say, are you going to move over there? I said, I'll always be bicontinental. I said, because this is still, well, I'm in the DC area right now. This is still where I grew up. This is still my family. Is still in this part of the world. So there's no, I'm just going to forget y'all and I'm going on over such and such. Nah, that's not how this works. What I know is that there's beauty in both. And that's what I'm going to embrace. And that's what I'm going to inspire people to do, to find the beauty in both. Those who don't want it, cool. You dust your feet off, you keep moving. But what I do know is this. There are going to be enough people who stop long enough to say, nah, I'm good with the things that I'm learning, and I'm good with going to sea, and I'm good with, taking time to, to put a lot of these pieces of the puzzle together. I'm good with that. I can do that. I can make that work. And they're going to do due diligence, and they're going to make this thing happen. And that's the deal. So when people tell you that we aren't from there, maybe they aren't. But I encourage everybody to go and do a little bit more research. And you might be surprised. Now, again, cult personalities are very similar to cult politicians, cult nationalism, and all of that. This is what I tell black people with the Democratic Party. I said, look, you got all these black cities, black mayors, black city council, black school boards, all this blackity black. But everything stays the same. But every election cycle, they talk of the blackity black talk. They put a charismatic blackity black figure up to say the same things we want to hear. It's kind of like the little preacher who goes up and says the same thing we want to hear week after week, and everything stays the same. But for some reason, people can't see that things stay the same. And they come up with excuses in their mind to justify staying with the status quo. And so once you understand that psychological makeup within people, it's easy to manipulate them over and over again on multiple levels: political, religious, and now with the old identity piece. It's easy to get a person whose mindset is not willing to go a little bit deeper and process things on a deeper level. They'll just stick with it right here. cruise with it. Cruise with it. I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Cycle after cycle. Say they put the same radio commercials on, same TV commercials, people saying the same thing over and over and over. Schools still going through the same challenges. Gentrification coming into these cities under so-called black leadership. They come up with little Trump charges on politicians that might be trying to make a difference, like little loans, stuff they got going on in Baltimore and stuff they did in D.C. and all of that. And so you stop and you say to yourself, if someone thinks, you stop and you think and you say, there has to be more. There has to be more to the story. So all I'm saying is that when people tell you this, and as a matter of fact, they're going to start taking people over to, this stuff going to start spreading over to Africa and telling the people from Africa they're not from there. And there'll be somebody who will believe it. No, I'm not. I'm French. Bonjour. Comment allez-vous? Oui, oui. And that's what they're going to do. And they're going to convince the people, you're not from Africa. You're really from France. And we sent your family to Africa. Yes. I don't like myself and those Africans and those African governments and those Africans, and they're so corrupt, and I don't want anything to do with Africa. Well, come on, bring your talent over here to France, and we'll love up on your bosom. Come lay in our bosom. Come lay in our French boutonniere bosom. Come lay on up in here. Come on, lay here. We're going to take care of you. We're going to educate you. We're going to give you a new life because your government is so corrupt. Come on over here, study abroad. Come on over here to the Canada and the U.S. and the UK, and we're going to take care. We're going to give you opportunities from the resources and land that we stole from you. We are now going to, in turn, give you an opportunity to continue to build our wealth. That's what we're going to do. That's right. And that's why I'm going to wave your flag, and I'm going to sing your anthem, and I'm going to bow to your queen. Because they've done a masterful job of convincing us to hate ourselves. So many of us, not all of us, but many of us. And it's a convoluted, twisted dynamic to say there are no opportunities in Africa, but they're sitting their behinds up in Africa, building their dreams, living in the best areas. You see the economic disparities, and you'll see a very similar pattern. So if all we're going to do is play ethnic politics and all of that, we need to go back and follow the money. And when you start following that money and you start following that trail, it will start to reveal a very interesting thing. Now, let's see where we are. Let's see where we are. Let's see. Yeah, it gets deep over here, Maximum Impact. I know I do travel and everything, but it does get deep, y'all. All right. We are 21 subscribers away from 20,000. Now, this is going to be up for, I'll leave it up. Because it seems like these ones that I do live, somehow they catch fire, and next thing you know, you got 20,000, 27,000 views, and I'm sure this is going to be a conversation piece, especially once we put the thumbnail on it. And some folks are going to be in the comments losing their mind. I'm telling you already, they're going to be losing their everlasting mind. They're going to be like, oh, I can't take it no more. Because this movement is like growing. It's growing. So what I want everybody to do, though, and even once we surpass 20,000 and you're watching this, make sure you subscribe and hit the alert bell. Because, I'm looking at it. Yeah, someone said they didn't even know. Yeah, or one of the, somebody said, I didn't even notice some African Americans and now they were. Oh, yeah, it's going on out in these streets. It really is. But hit that alert bell so that you can get notifications. Because with the notifications, you'll be able to know when I'm releasing videos. I got so many videos coming down the pike, but the channel has grown so much. We picked up more than 4,000 subscribers in the last month. It says here 28 days. So I'm looking at this. All right, so we're down to 20. 20 subscribers to go to get to 20,000. So that's right, 20 to 20,000. So a lot of people watch, but they don't subscribe. Just because for whatever reason, but clicking that subscribe button is key. And the reason why I'm so excited about this is because I'm chronicling this journey towards the different milestones. The next milestone will be 25,000. So we won't do it every 1,000. We'll, I don't know. Let me take that back. Let me see how I feel when we get to 21. I might just say 21, just for the sake of it. But, getting to 20,000 is huge, especially on a platform like this, especially with the different topics and things that I talk about. Coming up on, even if you're watching this later, coming up on 6/18/22, we have the 24 new video releases in 24 hours. And you will see videos from Nigeria, Benin, Togo, Sierra Leone, Ethiopia, Kenya, Egypt, Morocco, South Africa, and much more. So make sure you subscribe so you can get the updates on that as well. And then also if you're interested in traveling to Africa, you can always join us with MaximumImpactTravel.com, seeing exactly what we have coming up, our different trips and all of that good stuff, because that is on the way. And so we have all kinds of trips that are coming down the pike. And so this is important, again, when, I have another, be sure to check out the interview I did with Ron Dalton. It's coming, we haven't released it yet, but he is with the Hebrews to Negroes documentaries. And what I like to do is interview people with different perspectives and giving them a platform to be able to share. And so he's done a lot of historical research, and it's very compelling. But I give everybody the opportunity to look, and you can decide for yourself. But I was able to ask him a lot of questions that people, a lot of questions that people wonder, and that's what makes this interview so powerful. There's going to be more content coming from, like I said, all those different countries, and interviews from people in those countries to give you insight. And you'll be able to see a lot of these different connections. That's the thing. When you get there and you say, wow, there really is a connection here. And with the connection, this is what, you recognize that it doesn't even have to be, you don't need a genetic test in order to see the connection. All right, we're down to 18, y'all. 18 to go. Come on, let's close this gap. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button and we will get there. And I'm telling you, we are down to 18 subscribers to 20,000. And our goal is to be able to do this before midnight. We can do this now. And so what you can do is tell your friends and family, say, look, come on over here, check out what this brother talking about. He's offering a different perspective than some things that we might have heard. So check him out, see what's going on, and click that subscribe button. And before you know it, by the time we hit midnight, we can cross over 20,000. I'm not going to do anything like play celebration or nothing like that. But it's a major milestone because we'll look back, and when we get to 100,000 or 200,000 or however many, wherever it goes from there, and I mean, hey, the sky's the limit. There's so much content that we have. There's so many resources that we're going to be offering, so many different things we're going to be doing. I have no limit on it. And sure, some people say, would you like to do it? I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of I don't know. As many people want to, but I don't know if that's what I'm setting out to do at this point. I think I'm more or less setting out to go with the flow of what's been put in front of me. I never set out to do this. So it's, that part of it. I'm going to do a talk on, I have several different things. I'm just going to drop it. When on the 24 and 24, you'll get a lot of good content. 20 is a video coming every hour. Every hour. That's right. 16. Let's close it, y'all. 16 to go. 16 to go. Come on, we can do it. 16 to go. May was our highest viewed month in the history of this channel. And we did a whole lot during that month. 16 to go. 16. Wow. 20,000 is a huge benchmark, because when you come into this space, you don't realize that you are, again, a lot of times all you're doing is just putting information out. I would have never known that the first trip to Ghana would have led down this road. And so here we are. Now we can celebrate so many different countries. Next up on my list, I got to get back to Sierra Leone, see my folks in Sierra Leone. I got to get to Liberia. And that's another thing people do. They blame, like, just to tell you how ignorant folks are. So they'll say to me, like, yeah, we don't need another Liberia over here. This is what, like the ignorant group would say. Say, now, first of all, like the average, like Black American has no clue what happened in Liberia. No clue. Don't even know. But somehow they get the blame for it. I'm telling you, but people got like some backwards, oof. It's like we don't really know what happened in Liberia. And we just like coming to visit, But so I've heard, oh man, if I could tell you some of the things I've heard, it just, what it proved to me is that like crazy is everywhere. That's what it's proved to me. Crazy is everywhere. And it's not a Black thing. It's not a white thing. It's not a African thing. It's not a African American, Black, foundational. It's crazy. It's everywhere. And the other thing it confirmed for me, when it's not crazy, is that people see things through different filters. A lot of us see life through an offense. And so when we're offended, anything that triggers that offense, that's how we see it. So that's not crazy. That's just someone who's dealt with some unresolved trauma or unreconciled trigger. So that's not crazy. Crazy is some of I won't even give credit to some of that stuff. But when you really sit down and you start analyzing it, you start understanding just how people think. People think differently. People are on some other stuff. And sometimes, and then, 12. 12 to go. 12 to 20,000. I got to find some music somewhere. Shoot. I got to find me some music. Y'all give me a song with 12 to go. I have a feeling we're going to get there. I have a feeling. Let's see if in the next 2 minutes we're at 19,988. Let's see if we can get to 19 in the next 2 minutes. Let's see. It's 11:18 p.m. Eastern. Let's see if we can get to 19,990 in the next 2 minutes. That's right. Let's see if we can get there in the next 2 minutes. Oh, we're at 89. I know y'all feel, all right, y'all got to close the gap. Because, like I said, some people are watching and you haven't subscribed. What you holding on for? What you waiting for? Go ahead and click that button. I feel like I'm doing an auction, right? But I'm excited about this because we set out, my team, we said that our goal was to reach 20,000 by July 1st. And as it stands right now, we're about to hit 20,000 on June 5th. We are at 19,991. We are 9 subscribers away from 20,000. 9 subscribers away from 20,000. And all I can say is this is exciting because our goal was July 1st. It's June 5th. We're coming in ahead, way ahead, and it's resonating. Clearly, this is resonating. The things that we talk about, the adventures that we share. We'll have silly videos. We have deep videos like this video. Even if you're watching this after we hit the 20,000, be sure to subscribe anyway so that you get the alerts. I don't look for consensus. I don't look for everybody to agree with me. A lot of people teach me and I learn from people, but I'm also not one for following like cult personalities and stuff like that, because I've been there, done that. I know how that whole game works. I don't need a guru. I don't need approval from anyone to talk about Africa and share Africa with the world. I'm not looking for that. You know, some people don't like you because they've been doing it for like 30 years, and then you come in, 3-4 years, and they feel as though you're trying to take their place, and you're not, because there's so much room for everyone. But that's when you start seeing people's insecurities. I've had people block me from their IG accounts, people I don't even know, never met them, nothing. But they felt intimidated because of how I, aggressively came and shared this message, and they felt that it was going to be a threat to their tour business. I mean, I'm telling you, I could tell y'all some stories about how some Negroes act out here. But everybody black though. Everybody black. We all about the black thing until it comes down to the money. Then it comes down to conflict of interest. That's why I say always follow that money, because that money is going to tell you the truth. We are 5 subscribers away. Man, let me see here. Hold on. We about to cross over. Let me see here. Let me see. How do I want to do this? How do I want to do this? I don't want to do anything that's gonna trigger the because YouTube is tricky. You got a copyright strike if you play certain songs. That's why I was like, So I'm kind of stuck. Let me see here. Let's see. Because I don't want to do anything that's going to trigger. All right. I'm going to have to ride with it. All right. Let's see where we are. 3 to go. 3 to 20,000. We are 19,997. 19,997. This is what I will say, because we're about to cross over. I want to thank everybody in advance. I want to thank you for just spending time on this channel, learning, and even debating, because we have a lively discourse in the conversation, in the comments. And so we want to thank you for that. And again, this is the beginning. That's why I chronicle this, so that when we get to 50,000, 70,000, and all of that, and you're going to start immediately seeing our production value increase. We have a video that's getting ready to be released. And so we're going to share that with everyone. It's an interview I did in Atlanta with Aaron Faulkner. And so that is, that's coming down the pike as well. With, all right, let's see. Let's see the update here. Oh, there it is. 20,000. 20,000. I got to take a picture of this. I don't know. Let me see. We have made it. 20,000 subscribers. You all did it. Let me see here. It's going to take a minute to update in the system. I'm going to see if I can pull this over and share it with everyone. Congratulations to everyone, to our work, because we have a lot of folks out there who really want the best for this channel. And I thank you. Here we go. I thank you for continuing to let people know about what we're doing. I'm trying to take a screenshot. Let me see if I can, sometimes this thing acts weird. So let's see. See if we can, I knew it was going to do that. I knew it. Notice I said it was going to act weird. And of course it did just now, but let me see. I got another solution. All right. I want you to see it. You won't see it yet because I get it in real time. I get it right on the spot. Like I said, I want to do music and all that, but it's going to trigger. Okay, it's still doing it. What's happening here? Wonder why it's doing that. Okay. It's a particular file that won't let me. Let's try this. There we go. All right, come on. Let's see. All right, it's still not letting me do it. All right. Well, here's the deal. We are at 20,000 subscribers. Well, we're at 20,006 subscribers. What's going on here? What's happening here? Let me find out y'all about to take this thing to 20,100. Here's the deal, everyone. We're going to continue bringing you food for thought. We're not out here to try and disparage or shame anyone, but the deal is at least we want to have our voices to combat some of the other stuff that's going on and helping us to understand and think about what's circulating around us. That's how we bridge the gap, because although people try to say, well, I've had people tell me those Africans don't like you over there, you're not going to be welcomed, all of that stuff. And I was like, well, have you been there? No, I haven't been there. I don't need to go there. I'm not going there. Oh, then you're not really credible. You're not someone that I can take seriously, because you're not even willing to go find out if some information might be wrong. You know, that you're not willing to do it. And you have the resource. Somebody told me, yeah, well, I've been to Africa many times. I said, have you been to West Africa? Well, no, I went to East Africa. Oh, go on over there to West Africa. Get some of them black-eyed peas and rice. Go on over there. And run down to Brazil and get some of them black-eyed peas and rice. Go on. Look, for the fellas, this, I'm going to make, ladies, just give me this moment. Ladies, just give me this moment. Just, all right, y'all, just ladies, just hold tight for a second. Can I talk to the fellas just for one moment? Fellas, let me just talk to the fellas for a second. You don't need any DNA when you go to West Africa and South Africa in particular, and Central Africa, in that region. You don't need any DNA, because when you see how people are built, run up on the reservation and see how people are built. Go down to South Africa in Durban and Cape Town and see how people are built. You don't need no DNA. Go on up on the reservation. Go on over to Ghana. Go on over to Cote d'Ivoire. Go to Nigeria. And see how people are built. Then come back and look at the sisters in America and see how they built. And run up on that reservation. See how they built. All I'm trying to say is you don't need DNA. I'm not going to say what I was about to say. But, come on, y'all. When I was in Sierra Leone, and the sisters started dancing, the American sisters, black sisters started dancing with the African brother. And you would have never known the difference. You would have never known the difference. Go up on that reservation. I'm just saying, now you might find, you might have a maybe more, I'm just saying, just go up on that joint. You don't have to do but see, the thing is, if they keep you away from seeing it, seeing the similarities, you're like questioning, like, I don't know. All you got to do, brothers. I tell the brothers all the time. I tell the brothers, I was telling my sons, I was like, look, brother sitting over there. I was telling one brother, I said, man, look, you sitting over here in America lonely, and sisters don't want nothing to do with you over here, because you're not a you're not a high value man, so they don't want nothing to do with you. But I guarantee you, going over there to different parts of Africa, you'd be good. Got some cultural changes. Brothers like, for real? We're going over there. Going over to see. Why you got borders on? Why you got borders on love, man? What's wrong? Sisters, they going on over to Africa, finding love and everything. Happily in love. Happily found a family and everything. But they over here still dealing with these brothers over here and all the issues and everything. And being abused and all that kind of stuff. And that goes both ways. The white boys beat them up too and all that kind of stuff. And you say, well, look, expand your borders and you might find something. Sisters going now, they find that same, like I said, crazies everywhere. But I'm just saying, expand your borders. But I'll tell you this much, is that when you go and you see, and my original point is very simple, is that when, for the fellas, you don't need DNA. For the sisters, you go over there and you can look and I even had one sister, she said, well, I see where we get all the stuff from, because I come over here and I see what's going on and all that. And that's real. But, run up on that reservation. See how it compares. And of course somebody gonna have a theory about, well, I'm not the real one, and we not and only a certain percentage, and there's only 5% who actually came over to America and Amazon. People do it too. I mean, especially, people doing it so they're gonna multiply. They have breeding farms. The whole point of it was for them to breed like cattle. So whether it was 5% or 2%, the people, they put them out there in Maryland, had breeding farms. Down in Jamaica had breeding farms. So they were breeding the people like cattle. So the population continued to grow because they needed the labor to get the sugar cane and the cotton and the corn and everything else. So all of that, it might have been a smaller percentage, and the majority went down to the Brazil and into the islands and everything. But when you're intentionally breeding people like cattle, then the numbers are going to multiply. And multiplying, and then on top of that, if you're raping them and doing all this kind of stuff that they were doing down on Whitney Plantation, come on. But again, when people have partial information and they don't understand global economics and they don't put all these pieces of the puzzle together and they just go from a purely emotional perspective, then that's where they get stuck. And I just can't be stuck in that place. I just can't. So, all right, everybody, we are at 20,008. We crossed over. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I wanna like get up and dance. We're gonna do something. I'll do a video about it. That's what I'll do. I'll create a video. Thank you so much. We did it before midnight. And so now what I'm gonna do is we've been on here for a while. And we hit the goal. And we're gonna continue to march on. And so I might, continue with the 1,000. We'll see. But thank you so much again. More content on the way. Stay tuned for Maximum Impact with Jay Cameron. And I'm just excited. And don't forget to pick up the Adventures of Darren and Destiny children's book series. That's something I'm excited about. And make sure you pick that up for your young folks. You can buy it. It's on Amazon, or you can get it at on DarrenandDestiny.com. So a lot of people down in South Africa were asking if Amazon delivers to South Africa. You can definitely get the Adventures of Darren and Destiny. Is ZA, I think that's what it is. So in other parts, any place that Amazon delivers, you can get it. I know the UK, Canada, all over Europe, Australia, any other African countries, definitely pick up the Adventures of Darren and Destiny children's book series. Thank you so much for tuning in. On our way. Now we've crossed 20, on our way to the next goal. Talk to you soon.
Open up your eyes and see all the fun and mystery. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny. From the mountains to the shore, so many things to explore. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny.